Hello and welcome back to Cinema Savvy and welcome back to another review. We have more films to review, guys. There are films coming out. It's insane, especially with news over the last week of films being pushed back further in the year. We are blessed with a couple of films this week. We're going to be starting off with Enola Holmes, the film which was actually released today of time we're recording, which is the Wednesday. This will probably be released on the Thursday, the day after. But it is good to see new films either way. How are you doing today, George?
I am well. It's a strange one because obviously today, when you're watching this tomorrow, whenever, today's the day we find out that Black Widow's gone. Death on the Nile's December. If December the same day as Dune and Wonder Woman, so let's be honest, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
West Side Story's gone another year, but maybe they want to reshoot it. Who knows? Everything's moved today. Tomorrow will probably be Bond or something. So, yeah, we're just kind of sat here like we're called Cinema Savvy, and here we are streaming savvy. Everything's coming up on streaming. We've got so much stuff coming out, including obviously today Enola Holmes, which was going to be a cinema release, and then Netflix picked up the rights just at the start of lockdown. Very smart company. A lot of productions cashing in. I think it's worth mentioning at the start. A lot of productions cashing in on these kind of B-list films. Nothing wrong with calling it that. It's not a blockbuster. There's not a massive return they need to make. However, it's a film that you couldn't have released at cinemas today, especially with this demographic. And I don't think
it would have done well in cinemas. Let's put it that way. I don't think it would be a film which people would flood to go and see. It's definitely a film which favors the streaming platform, especially because the main character, Millie Bobby Brown, is kind of known for being on streaming platforms, known for Stranger Things. So Netflix picking that up was very smart. I didn't actually realize it was going to have a cinema release, so that's kind of an interesting business decision on their part. Before we get into the review though, guys, please let us know your comments and thoughts on Enola Holmes if you've seen it. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, do all of those things, help out the channel and everything like that. We are trying to get to 2K by the end of the year. We're pushing for it so hard. So please support us on that. Please also go and find us on Facebook at Cinema Savvy, Twitter at cinema_savvy, and go into the description and you can pick up a t-shirt, which neither of us are wearing today. But it is a very nice t-shirt, nevertheless, on TeePublic. So what was your first initial thoughts just based off the trailers for this film? Just kind of a forethought.
So I hadn't seen a trailer for this. So I'm going to give a bit of background as much as I can say without breaking NDA. This is one of the last things I got to work on my old job. So I kind of left halfway through filming. So this is one where I've kind of ironically had my eyes peeled that this film is out and it's one of the last things I worked on. And yet the very second thing I ever worked on has been delayed a year and a half. I'm not going to obviously name what name that is, but it's not hard to guess by now. So I've got a bit of an attachment. I'll be completely honest. I met Millie Bobby Brown at a convention last year and she was lovely as well. So, because I'm new to Strange Things. I saw Strange Things 1, 2, and 3. I think it must have been like July time when I switched jobs. I think you, Chris, had just done your review, so I'd never seen any of it. I got to binge all 3 seasons, and obviously it was great to watch. And child actors are an interesting one. I know we've all had discussions on the past. You get some great ones. You get some ones that are going to do one film and you'll never see them again. But every once in a while, I think you get someone that's going to stick around for a long time. And I think Millie Bobby Brown is probably that person. Not only is she the lead of Stranger Things, but she's produced this film and she's 16 years old.
Yeah.
Let alone be a lead in it, let alone it be a Holmes film, I guess we can say. I don't know if it's really a franchise as such. It could be, but maybe we'll discuss that later.
It could be, yeah. It
could easily be. And I think it's a smart way. It's going back to the Netflix thing. It is the star of their, right now, probably their biggest show. Can't talk about House of Cards anymore. And why not pick up the rights for it? A lot of, I can imagine this straight off the off. One of my main things with this, not seeing any trailers, not knowing anything about this, didn't know much about the fourth wall breaking, and I didn't know too much about the tone. I knew that Sherlock and Mycroft were in it, but I did not know how integral their roles were and the actual story at hand. So coming into this quite fresh, I was surprised, honestly, at not surprised at the tone, but when Sherlock Holmes films take themselves so seriously, they're so up for themselves. They're so, we need to be smarter than everyone else and we need to do everything to outsmarten the audience. I don't think this had that, which I think made it easier to follow. But by bringing in a character, like I know there's been a couple of books. I know she did crop up at the finale of the TV series, which is something that's very controversial to a lot of
hotly
people.
debated as just the death of that TV show to the point where they haven't produced a single episode since then.
It
But
wasn't good. But this, I got behind this. I mean, it's not. I think me before we hit record kind of same. It's, to me, this the demographic for this is sort of teenage girls coming of age, really, and I've got no issue with that. And it's not my type of film off the bat, but I had no issue with this film. I thought it was fine as a general instinct. That I don't think it had a terrible script. I don't think anything was outright bad. It just felt like, okay, one of those films is fine. I'm not the target audience for this, so I'm not attached to this, which maybe is an issue. But I didn't have that sense of, I can't wait for this to finish. Get me out of here. It's not one of those awful ones where we've sort of seen many of. But it's one of them films that comes and goes, and I can see why this is on Netflix.
As far as my kind of forethought into the trailers and stuff like that, I got that vibe. I don't know whether this is just a British thing or whether this is a global thing, but I can't remember if it was an ad campaign a while ago or whether it was just like a TV ad or something like that. But it was statues and they had like flappy mouths and stuff like that. And people wearing bowler hats and stuff like that. I got that vibe that they probably saw that advert and thought, this is the kind of tone that we want to go with this film. We want it to be kind of quirky and kind of quite childish. And going into this film, I mean, from seeing the trailer, you immediately saw, okay, it's going to be like a young adult film. And I'll be honest, this film gave off massive vibes of being shown in classrooms across the UK when there's like one day left of school, maybe cropping up on like ITV every now and then or BBC at Christmas. It is like one of those films where you can just kind of stick it on the TV and the entire family would quite enjoy it. I've got to give it credit for that in itself, because this was the kind of film where normally I would be like, oh, I could really critique this film, I could really go in hard on it, but you can't, because there's nothing really inherently wrong about this film. It's just not my vibe. And that's fine in itself. It's a completely fine film. I'll probably watch it again at some point because I kind of enjoyed it, but it's not something that I'm immediately going to say to everyone, oh yeah, go watch it, go back and like analyze it and stuff like that. It's just a kind of cute little fun popcorn kind of flick that is great for Netflix because everyone's kind of either at home going back to work or going to be soon going back into a lockdown possibly, and people are going to turn onto Netflix and go, oh look, there's this fun little quirky film that we can watch, and I think it'll do well because of that.
I think, and that's a big thing with this as well, is that you kind of said as well before we hit record, this isn't the kind of film a lot of people would have paid to see at the cinema. Maybe I'm underestimating that, but there wasn't much marketing for this at all. Obviously, we're in a very different world to what it was 8 months ago, which is obviously a big part of that. Yeah. But even Netflix, for their normal standards, I've not seen this plastered around social media. I've not seen this everywhere. I think when
only through word of mouth, really. Like before the trailer even came out, I heard my sister talking about it, and I heard a few other people kind of saying, "Oh yeah, this new film's gonna be coming out soon. They're gonna be getting a trailer up soon. It's Enola Holmes and stuff like that." Like, is that like Sherlock's sister or something? And they're like, yeah, it's like a really kind of long-standing book series. And I'm just like, okay, fine, whatever. But Sherlock Holmes always seems to do good in whatever media it's in. Like, I don't know how many series. I think America did like a Sherlock series.
Yeah.
Where like I think like Watson was female and stuff like that. And I mean that ran for however many seasons. I haven't watched it. I've heard it's okay. But like Sherlock Holmes always seems to sell. I just don't think that this would have done well in cinemas, and I think it's going to do very good on this streaming platform.
Yeah, it's going to bring a fan base, and even with Strange Things, I can imagine, especially like teenagers, maybe lads as well as girls.
When you've got Henry Cavill, Beefcake Henry Cavill as Sherlock Holmes himself.
That was when he got cast, that was one of the funnest things I think there was that it's like, we sit here saying, is he going to be Bond? Is he coming back to Superman? It's like, oh, like Sherlock Holmes. And I had weird thoughts going. I'm not going to lie, I was on edge. I know it was a sort of teen film, but I was like, Henry Cavill as Sherlock, really? And I saw this poster. If you're watching, you can see his head above us. It looked like they'd photoshopped his face into the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock when I saw that poster for the first time. And it took me a while. And even watching this, I'm not going to lie, I didn't see Sherlock Holmes. I saw Henry Cavill. No. I know that people say the same thing for Robert Downey Jr., but I saw far more of Holmes in that. However, I've got no issue with Henry Cavill doing this role because it kind of worked for the vibe they were going with the film. They wanted that he wasn't the lead actor. He was very much a supporting actor that you will know who he is. You know, he's not really the protagonist or an antagonist. He sits there just supporting her. And I think he worked that. I think Henry Cavill's got the right kind of presence to be that kind of big brother to her. And I think he does.
A little bit stoic and just kind of, sit in the background.
Yeah, and like when he says something like smart, it's like, oh, yeah, I forgot he's playing Sherlock Holmes. It's kind of that. Whereas credit where credit's due, I always forget the name of the actor that played Mycroft, who was in Peaky Blinders, Hunger Games.
Sam Claflin.
Sam Claflin. So I struggled with this because if you've seen Peaky Blinders the last season, he played really famous British politician, like the original Nazi sort of Nigel Farage type, and he's very good at playing that very upper class, posh. Not snobby, but kind of, he's the antagonist ultimately. I know he's not the main antagonist, but he's an antagonist specifically to Enola. And I think Sam Claflin's really good at that kind of vibe where, go back to Hunger Games, when he first popped into that, it's like Finnick. I was never really sold because I was big fan of the books and stuff. It just didn't work for me. But after that, the stuff he's been doing that I've seen him in, he seems to be doing a lot better. And I think he was really well suited.
Me After You or Before Me, you whatever that one with Emilia Clarke one. Yeah, don't watch it.
Yeah, but I think not to typecast, but you know, for a period piece, he looks the part, and he was the part, and you did get that vibe of he is a very upper class snobby person. And I think again, being so used to Mycroft from the TV series Margatis, it couldn't have been any more different, which I think helped it even more. I think if this film had have had here's Millie Bobby Brown, but here's carbon copies of previous Sherlocks and Mycrofts, I don't think the film could work. But because it felt like its own thing, it felt almost modern. It was like a modern take on a Victorian era, kind of. That makes sense.
Yeah, it felt. Yeah, I'll go ahead and say that. Yeah, it felt like it had a little bit of a modern kind of flair to it. Whether that was, I mean, for starters, just the aesthetic of the film felt a little bit more forward in time. Like the colors were brighter, and like when it went to London, it wasn't covered in smoke. So, like maybe that was to do with it. But no, I have to commend a lot of the performances in this film. I don't think there was a single outright bad performance. There was a few bits of sketchy CGI in some bits, the train scene especially, which almost stood out from the rest of the film because it was kind of the only time where they really used CGI. But other than that, the mystery was somewhat. It was fun. At least it kept me guessing. At least until closer towards the end. There's always that overlooming threat of like a henchman. I can't remember his name, but he was in
the one from Brown Eye Rises.
No, I don't see him as that. I see him as the one from Torchwood. Like,
he was in Torchwood first. I think he's kind of evolved into the Dark Knight Rises meme for me. Yeah. Is it Bert something?
Bert Woman.
Because he pops up. Oh, it's him. Like, and every time he pops up somewhere, it's always, he's not the kind of name you could announce in a film. I don't mean that sounds rude.
No.
But he kind of, when he crops, it was like, oh, yeah, him. And the moment he come in, you knew he'd be a villain. He's very good at playing villains. I think he's got this vibe for it. I don't know if it's the face.
It's the face. It's the face and the mannerisms that go with it that he's able to play a villain or henchman.
And I think for this sort of teenage film, it worked. You didn't need an in-depth, here's this being written. And Helena Bonham Carter to have her, and I think was...
Her time on screen was limited, but it was good for what we saw.
Yeah, I didn't think, not that it needed to be her, but I'm surprised she took on a smaller role like this. In all honesty, I think Helena Bonham Carter is great in pretty much everything she's been in,
because she was herself a child star and kind of wanted to lend a helping hand to Millie Bobby Brown.
And that's the thing, it's an interesting role as well. Like no one ever talks when you think of Sherlock Holmes, you think of him, maybe the brother, but never the mother. Never. So, and I think that was a nice twist to go with it, and you could see the sort of the mother-daughter vibe. And I think my only sort of criticism of the film, it's not even that deep, is that I feel there's a false sense of narrative with her. I'm not going to delve into the spoilers of that for people at home, but if you have watched it, certainly the ending, I think you expect something to happen, and not necessarily that it doesn't, but it feels as if the mystery they built up to is actually not the mystery which you needed to know about. I think that's probably my overall summary.
This doesn't really spoil it, but the film ends, and then I don't know how long it is after the film kind of they solve the mystery, that there's kind of like a run-on of closing all the characters' kind of arcs and stuff like that. But it feels like a little bit longer than it should have been. Personally, for me, I feel like there was 2 mysteries of this film. We're not going to reveal what they are, obviously, because this is kind of like we could go into spoilers, but there isn't really much to spoil here other than talking about what basically happens in the plot. It doesn't really do anything. But the 2 mysteries they have here, one of them gets solved by kind of the whole Sherlock Holmes like charade and stuff like that. That kind of standard like figuring out the puzzle and everyone, and the other one just resolves itself.
Yeah.
So it feels like a bit of an empty ending in that sense, but that would really be the only kind of, outside of this CGI and one scene, the criticism of the film. One major thing about the film, though, which I got from the trailer, but I don't think to the same extent, was the character of Enola Holmes, Millie Bobby Brown, is a fourth wall breaker. Is a heavy fourth wall breaker. Literally speaking to the camera every single time. There's even one point in the film where she goes, basically, help me solve the mystery. Can you figure it out, guys? And you're kind of staring back at the screen going, it's your job to figure this out.
It took me by surprise. And I think when you look at obviously, Sherlock's a character, especially doing sort of mysteries on screen. You look at Benoit Blanc from last year, he talks to himself because they need to tell the audience what they're thinking. And the fourth wall breaking was weird because I was like, okay, I can get with that. That's fine. And then it just happened a lot and a lot and a lot. And I think, not to sound weird, that's where, to me, like, this sounds so bad. It felt like a streaming film because of how much it wanted the audience to be involved in it. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but it kind of reminded me of that. What was that film that came out?
Netflix have done 2. They've done 2. They've done Bandersnatch, and they've done one with the what's it called, Kimmy Schmidt.
And that's what I thought. So Netflix have a history of doing this.
It could have been. They could have done Enola Holmes Choose Your Own Journey film.
I was just expecting like one button to pop up, and it'd be like, what do you think at home? And it's like, is it A or B? And it's like, oh, next scene. And that's like, it's not really
honest. I mean, the way that they did it with Bandersnatch, I'd be completely okay with if this film was done in that style.
It'd be interesting to see a mystery film, and if you don't solve it, you have to go through it'd be like a game, but
go back through the clues again
to solve it.
I think that'd be brilliant, actually. I think Netflix should get on that, and I think maybe they should take it from this franchise. Like, they've already established it with one film. Maybe have one other normal film to go with this film, because this film does kind of not bait a sequel, but it kind of leaves it very open. The universe is kind of widening, if that made sense. They could easily do one kind of normal film as a sequel, and then also soon after maybe do a separate kind of side quest film where it is like a choose your own destiny kind of Sherlock Holmes solve the case kind of thing, and I'd be completely okay with that. And it'd fit into the style of the film in itself.
Yeah, I think there's room for more. I think if you look at the era, look at the actress, the platform, I think everything's geared up in this to do a sequel. Henry Cavill strikes me as the kind of guy that, he's not just doing Superman, he's doing Witcher, again, tied into Netflix. I think he could come back. He's not too important a role. You could probably squeeze a schedule around him. Sam Claflin would probably be around. Millie Bobby Brown.
Other than Lestrade, there's only like 4 or 5 characters you need to bring back. So
I think there's good potential here. I think they've laid the groundwork, and I said, obviously Netflix will know the viewing stats themselves. They do always keep it private. They now do include 3 seconds as one view or whatever that ridiculous new rule is. But I think this could be a big hit. I think amongst younger people, I can't imagine. I mean, not to sound.
I don't imagine older audiences.
Yeah, I think they're going to struggle with this. I think this is definitely not a modern take. It's a new take on obviously this pre-existing character that has so many over the last decade. And again, you've got Downey Jr. and you've got Benedict Cumberbatch, and now you've got a third one in there. This one certainly feels the most tailored to the young adult. And it's also probably a nice way to get them into films like this.
It's quite funny because they're filming another Robert Downey Jr. one, aren't they?
Yes, they've been in production for a while. So whether it sees the light of day, I want it to, because I like the Robert Downey Jr. ones. I prefer him to both. I prefer him to Cumberbatch. I think at least they can do the whole he's pretended to be dead for 10 plus years. If they really want to do that, they now can. But we'll see where it goes. But certainly Enola Holmes, as like a final thought, I think it was just absolutely fine. Like I said, it's not my demographic, but I didn't have a bad experience watching this. I thought it was absolutely fine, and I can see where and how it will get a lot of its fans. So if you are watching at home, and if you're one of the people that, you know, do I need to watch this film? The answer is no, you don't need to watch it. But if you're just chilling, you want a film to put on you've not seen, I think it's an easy watch. It's one that you can chuck on probably an evening, and you'd have a fine time watching it. It's one of those. It's not a must-see, but it is a check it out. It's worth a look, especially, I guess, if you are a fan again of Stranger Things. I think that'll be a big thing for a lot of people coming into this.
Yeah, it was just a fun film. Like, I'm not gonna go out and say, oh yeah, it's an absolute must watch. Oh, it's gonna be like up for awards and everything. No, it's just like it's the standard popcorn flick, but it was quite enjoyable. Like, it's nice that we've got a new film out on any streaming platform at all, any kind of form of media that we can go and watch. So if you want to watch a new film, then I would go and say, yeah, go watch this. But it's not a complete must see. It's there. Go watch it. It's either that or the other film that we're probably going to review at some point within the next week when we get our timetable sorted, which is The Devil All the Time, which is on the opposite end of the spectrum completely, because that is not a kid's film. Jesus Christ, that's an 18, which I wasn't expecting until I went to actually watch it. But we'll talk about that in the actual review of that. But please go and follow us on our social medias to keep up with when we're going to be putting out those videos and stuff like that. So once again, that is on Facebook. Cinema Savvy, you'll come find us. On Twitter at cinema_savvy. And please make sure to comment below your thoughts on Enola Holmes. If you've seen it. If you haven't, then go watch it and then come back, give us feedback and stuff like that, what you thought of the film yourself. Please also like this video. Once again, comment if you can. Subscribe and share our channel so that we can expand to a wider audience. And George is now going to talk about what is happening next.
Yes. So this Sunday, 3 days from now, we are bringing back Battle of the Brackets. We brought it. It's our favourite show. We've done it across 4 years now. If you're new to the channel, essentially it's a game type show. We all just get to shout films to each other, argue, pretend you like things when you don't, pretend you hate things when you don't. So it's good fun, and we're into the 20s, and we're trying to bring it back monthly. So this Sunday, we're going to be doing it on, well, it was in light of Wonder Woman 1984, which is now TBC. We're kind of unofficially doing best comic book movie character. So we haven't officially written the title down yet, but it's essentially that each of us will pick a comic book movie character, and we're going to argue why it's the best film iteration. So hypothetical example. You say Batman, you have to pick a Batman. You can't have all of them. It's got to be Keaton or Bale or maybe Batfleck or whoever you want. It's going to be 16 different takes / characters. We're going to determine the best one out of the lot. So do come back for that this Sunday, the 27th of September. We are looking forward to that. And as Tate did, best way to find out what we do is on social media, because we will be sending out a couple of fighter profiles. We've got someone coming back who's not fought in a while. So it's going to be very interesting, and we like to update things. So if you want to find out more, see our picks, get in early, best way to do it is by following us on social media. But yeah, that's this Sunday, and I think that's everything for tonight. Tate said the final outro, so I am just going to end this very politely with a thanks for watching. And again, like, share, comment, subscribe, and we cannot